You are about to witness the worst economic crisis of your lifetime. I should not have been making this video because this video is going to be extremely depressing. The Iran war is going way worse than I thought. When the war started, I told you that most likely there are going to be ground troops to open the Strait of Hormuz. But it seems like it is going to be a lot worse than I thought. And that means that the economic crisis that is going to happen because of this ground invasion is going to be a lot worse than I thought. Which means that you have to prepare for much higher prices and a way worse quality of life. And frankly speaking, a lot of people are going to suffer. So you have to prepare yourself for the absolute worst. Why? Because the United States is planning a ground invasion, and most likely there is going to be 1 million troops deployed to invade Iran. But why 1 million troops? We don't hear the news about that. But I think that was basically the strategy. The President of the United States does not have the authority to start a war. So Donald Trump just started a special operation to decapitate the leaders of Iran. And now he's going to send a very limited ground invasion, but it's going to be very difficult for these troops to do anything, which means that he will present his case to the Congress, and the Congress will be left with no other option but to literally declare war on Iran, because these limited ground troops in Iran are going to be evaporated and eliminated by Iran. So reinforcements should come and help the US soldiers there. And if you want to invade a country as big as Iran, you need at least 1 million people to do so. Which means that the United States will have to borrow money to finance this war. Currently, the total deficit is about $2 trillion. And if you look at the numbers, the United States needs at least an extra $1 trillion to finance this war. And that means that the total deficit will rise to $3 trillion. So think about that for a moment. Currently, the government is spending $7 trillion and earning $5 trillion. Now, by the end of the year, the government will be spending $8 trillion, but will be earning just $5 trillion. Why? Because how else do you think the war is going to be financed? Do you think these soldiers should not be paid? And that is not the total cost of the war. The final cost of the war is going to happen after the war, where you are going to have hundreds of thousands of veterans that's supposed to be taken care of. Though there's just one small problem, is that there's simply not enough demand for the US debt. And these are not my words. Just look at the yields. The yields since the war has started have grown from less than 4% up to 4.3%. And why is that a problem? If you want to know how much the US government can raise money, all you have to do is just look at the yields. The yields basically tell you the supply and demand for the US debt. If there is a lot of demand for the US debt, then the government can borrow money at a lower rate. But if the yields on the US debt are rising, that means that there is not enough demand for the US debt, which means that the government on the other side is offering a higher and higher yields to attract people to buy the US debt. So the longer this war continues, the higher this number is going to go, the higher is going to be the cost of servicing the debt. So there is entirely possible that the total deficit isn't simply going to be $3 trillion, but rather it could be $3.3 trillion or $3.5 trillion. Simply because if the government wants to borrow an extra $1 trillion to finance the war, there aren't enough people, enough demand for that debt, which means that for that extra debt, the government will have to offer a much higher yields. The second problem is that oil prices are not coming down anytime soon, even if the United States deploys 1 million troops to invade Iran. Why? Oil prices are rising to over $100, and we're looking within the next 3 to 6 months oil prices to rise to $200. There is just simply one problem. All of these ships that are stuck right now, they're not crossing the Strait of Hormuz because they're afraid. First of all, if you are a huge ship that's worth $200 million, you probably have an insurance. Without that, nobody is going to deploy that ship. Nobody is going to use that ship. And if there is even a 1% chance that you could be hit by the Iranian drone, then you're not going to cross the Strait of Hormuz. So even if the United States deploys, let's say, 1 million troops to Iran, and there is a probability that from somewhere from the mountain a drone is going to come and hit the ship, then the ship is not simply going to cross the Strait of Hormuz, and the insurance company is not going to insure that, or if they do that, they will charge them a really high price. Now, how do I know that? Just look at what happened in Afghanistan. These people can literally hide in the mountains and just start a guerrilla war. The second problem with it is that the crew simply won't risk it. Imagine if you are a captain of one of these ships and you know that there is a 1 or 2% probability that you could be hit by the Iranian drones. Are you going to risk your life just to make some money? Well, of course not. That's why oil prices most likely are going to hit $200 even if the United States starts a ground invasion. So we are headed into a situation that I cannot possibly even describe how bad it is going to get. The second problem is that there is a second front, and that is the front of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Now, this is the second strait that goes through the Red Sea, especially from China and Southeast Asia, through the Suez Canal to the European Union and the rest of the world. And this is a very important choke point where 15% of the global trade goes to. And the country that is literally in control of that strait is called Yemen. And Yemen is controlled by Iran. Since the United States has attacked Iran, this country is like, we are going to open a strait or a second front, which means that now ships cannot even pass this part of the world, which means that now the ships will take a much longer route through the entire Africa to get to the European Union and the European countries. And now let me ask you a very simple question. You have two options. Either you are going to take that strait and there is a huge chance that you can get hit by the Houthis drones or rockets, or you are going to take a much longer route. But wait a second, oil prices are crossing $200, so basically it's going to be a lot more expensive. So one way or another, prices are going to skyrocket. And a lot of people still don't comprehend how big a problem that is, because we have some oil reserves. These oil reserves in a few months from now are going to end, which means that this crisis is literally just a few months from now. People have some hope that this crisis is going to be over, but Iran is not going to give up and the United States is not going to back up. Now there are too much things at stake. And that is the problem, that the United States cannot stop Iran and the world cannot stop the United States. Can you imagine a leader of the European countries calling Donald Trump and telling him that you gotta stop the war in Iran? Not a single European leader can do that. Not the UK, not Germany, even Japan. The Prime Minister of Japan, the moment the United States started this war, literally flew to Donald Trump. And I don't think there has been a lot of progress between Japan and the United States. So nobody can stop the US, and the US can't stop Iran. And the United States, and especially Donald Trump, is not going to make a deal with Iran, because the demands that Iran put is of course going to humiliate the United States. Since they're like, you started the war, you gotta pay for absolutely every single thing that you have destroyed. Now, the second biggest problem is that there is going to be a manufacturing problem, since all countries, or if you want to produce anything, there is a lot of energy will be consumed, which means that manufacturing is not going back to the United States, and most likely a lot of factories are going to close in the US and the European countries. So imagine you are a steel company in the United States or the UK, and manufacturing steel is already not a very profitable business. The only way that manufacturing steel is still feasible in the United States is because, first of all, there are tariffs on foreign steel, and secondly, there are government subsidies to help these companies to survive. And manufacturing steel is extremely expensive since it consumes a lot of energy. Now imagine for a moment, you used to make a very tiny, slim profit when oil prices were $50. Now oil prices are going to quadruple and grow to $200. You're not going to make any profit or whatsoever. You will suffer such huge losses that you will have no other option but to close down, unless the government is going to come and save you and use taxpayers' money to do that. How else the government is going to do that? Or maybe the government will simply borrow more money to save the US steel industry. And that will happen across all manufacturing sector. That will happen to companies that are thinking right now, should we open a manufacturing plant in the United States? Should we build this factory that is going to consume so much energy when oil prices are $200 a barrel? Well, of course not. So manufacturing will suffer. And Europe is not going to come and help the United States because they're busy with Ukraine. The European militaries are not as capable as the US militaries, and they're very busy protecting themselves from Russia because there is a war going on in the middle of Europe. They don't have the resources or whatsoever to help the United States. They might send you 1 or 2 ships, they might send you 1 or 2 soldiers, but do you think that is going to make a difference? If 1 million troops from the United States isn't actually going to help the United States win this war, do you think the European militaries are going to make any difference or whatsoever? So we know that's not an option at all. And that means that there is an everything tax coming. And everything tax means that it is not the government that's going to tax you, but rather the price of everything is going to rise, since the main factor that drives prices is going to rise. And what is that? First of all, that is the energy. Everything is being moved from one place into another. Since energy prices rise, the price of absolutely everything is going to rise. The price of manufacturing, the price of shipping, the price of driving your car, the price of things getting delivered right to your house are going to rise. The price of flying, the price of everything, absolutely. Secondly, insurance prices are going to rise. So all these ships, all the insurance companies that are offering insurances, they will simply hike their prices because there isn't a safe place in the world. You want to move stuff from China to Europe, there is going to be a much higher insurance. You want to bring stuff from European Union or the Middle East to the United States, there is going to be a much bigger insurance price. And thirdly, there is going to be huge shortages. Because it's much more expensive, a lot of businesses will stop delivering those stuff. Just because prices have risen, it doesn't mean that I will continue doing business. So a lot of businesses who are right now operating on a very tiny slim profits, they will go broke, which means that there are going to be a lot of shortages in the market. And because there are shortages in the market, prices are going to rise. So these 3 factors are going to simply increase prices across all sectors. And what does that mean for the global economy? First of all, manufacturing will probably evaporate across the United States, the UK, and the European Union. Of course, China and Japan are most likely going to suffer severely, but China is safe because first of all, China delivers a lot of its energy from Russia, and they actually have partnered for the last few years and have built literally pipelines across both countries to deliver so much energy. Iranian energy is also being shipped to China, so China to a certain extent is safe, even though that energy prices in China are also going to rise dramatically. But China has another problem. China has a deflation problem. A deflation means that prices across China are falling down. So maybe finally higher energy prices are going to cause some inflation in China, because China has an absolutely opposite problem of the United States. Prices are going down there. So in fact, this oil crisis can actually create some inflation in China and finally drive these prices higher. When prices are rising across the US and the European Union, it means that people can afford less things. So when your income stays the same, but things are much more expensive right now, can you buy less things or can you buy more things? Of course, you're going to buy a lot less things. When you're buying less things, then the economy stops actually growing as fast as it was in the past. So there is certainly going to be a huge slowdown in the economy. Thirdly, lower rates not possible due to high inflation. Up until the war started, the world was waiting for lower interest rates because the US economy is headed into a recession 100%. But how can we now lower down interest rates when there is inflation? The Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan cannot possibly lower down interest rates when there is such a high inflation. And when the cost of borrowing money is so expensive, the cost of everything is going to be much more expensive. So the everything tax is only rising due to this war. And finally, prices rise, but no economic growth. That means that a financial catastrophe. So basically, throughout this year, and probably next year, And probably the next 2 years, prices will keep rising, but your income won't keep rising. So I want to ask you a question. What do you think, how fast the economy is going to grow under that kind of circumstances? Not much, right? Do you see the financial catastrophe we are headed into? Now, here's the biggest question, is that what will happen to the United States right after the war? Since the United States will have to raise additional $1 trillion every single year to finance that war, the national debt is going to explode. But because there is so much debt, there is a weak demand for the US treasuries. And because the debt is going to exponentially rise even farther due to this war, the demand for the US debt is going to get a lot weaker because countries are now having serious concerns about the United States if the US will ever pay back that debt, which means that the cost of servicing the debt is going to rise, which means that right after the war, probably literally in 3 years from now, the total interest payments could rise from $1 trillion up to $1.5 to $2 trillion. So I'm not talking about something that will happen 10, 15 years from now, but I'm talking about something that is about to happen in 3 years from now. And that means that the United States, especially the next president of the United States, will have to raise taxes. So I have no doubt that taxes will be risen in the United States for a fact. And I'm talking both about individual taxes, corporate taxes, because there is no other option. You gotta raise taxes to pay back this debt. So if you're struggling right now financially, if you're barely making ends meet, if you think that prices are rising too fast, I want to ask you a question. What is going to happen to the quality of your life when taxes are going to be doubled 3 years from now? Do you see the catastrophe that I'm talking about? And the government most likely will cut a lot of social programs. So if you're counting on the government to pay you money for your social security payments, most likely those payments are going to be cut severely, not because the government hates you, maybe also that's the case, I don't know, but rather because the government simply cannot possibly afford that. And the final question is that who is going to pay the price for that? And that is all the Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because if you simply look at the tax codes right now, you will see that the taxes on a fixed paycheck is the highest amount of taxes. Yes, there is a capital gain tax, there are corporate taxes, but if you look at the government's revenue, you will see that the vast majority of that revenue, and I'm talking about more than 80%, comes from people who are on a fixed paycheck, who are living paycheck to paycheck. So you're most likely going to pay the price for that. That is why, before it's too late, it is very important for you to change the way you make your money. You should start making your money from investments because the government is not going to hike capital gain taxes. Why? Because if the government is going to do that, it is going to scare off a lot of investors. And if less investments will be coming to the United States, the situation is going to get a lot worse. But if the government is going to raise the income tax and the payroll tax, there aren't actually many things that you can do. That is why, before it's too late, start investing. And if you don't know how to start investing, or if you want to know what are the best investments you should be making right now, if you want to know which stocks am I buying, then join the Investing Academy. The link is in the description of this video.